Hello, welcome to another video on our channel. Here we translate testimonies from people who have had near-death experiences and other spiritual experiences. Today we are going to know the story of Lincoln Hayes. He says he died and had a divine revelation. If you are not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe now. Leave a comment with your name and city. Now let's listen to Lincoln's testimony. My name is Lincoln Hayes, and I'm about to share with you an experience that completely changed my life. Today is July 20th, 2024, and I'm sitting in my office, looking out the window at the garden blooming outside. It's hard to believe that just 7 months ago I was fighting for my life on an operating table. I'm 60 years old, I've been married to Sarah for 30 years, and we have 2 wonderful children, Jake, 28, and Emily, 16. Until December last year, I led a pretty ordinary life. He worked as a civil engineer, spent weekends with his family, and occasionally played golf with friends. I have never been particularly religious or spiritual. He believed in God, but in a distant and abstract way. Everything changed on December 18th, 2023. That morning I woke up with a splitting headache, worse than any I had ever experienced. Sarah insisted on taking me to the emergency room. After a series of tests, I received the news that would change everything. I had a brain tumor that needed to be removed immediately. The hours that followed were a blur of fear and anxiety. I remember signing consent forms, hugging my crying family, and being wheeled into the operating room. The kind face of Dr. Martinez, the neurosurgeon, was the last thing I saw before the anesthesia took effect. As my body lay unconscious on the operating table, my mind embarked on a journey that would challenge everything I believed I knew about life, death, and what might lie beyond. What I experienced over the next few hours not only saved my life, but transformed my soul in ways I'm still trying to understand. The moment the anesthesia took over my body was surprisingly peaceful. The fear and anxiety that had consumed me moments before seemed to dissipate like fog in the morning sun. The bright lights of the operating room began to merge, creating a kaleidoscope of colors that danced before my eyes. Then, suddenly, everything went dark. It wasn't a scary or oppressive darkness, but rather a welcoming darkness, like a warm hug from an old friend. I felt like I was floating, as if my body no longer had any weight. The pain that had been tormenting me for weeks was completely gone. At that moment, I was acutely aware that something extraordinary was happening. I was no longer in the operating room, I was sure of that. But where exactly was I? That question didn't even fully form in my mind before I was enveloped by a sensation of movement. It was as if I was being gently pulled by an invisible current. There was no fear, just intense curiosity and a sense of anticipation. I began to realize that I was moving through some sort of tunnel. The walls of this tunnel, if I can call them that, seemed to be made of soft, pulsing light. As I progressed through the tunnel, I began to hear sounds. At first, they were just distant murmurs, like the sound of waves crashing on a distant beach. But soon these sounds turned into voices. I couldn't make out words, but the sensation was that of a lively, happy conversation. The movement accelerated, and with it came a feeling of liberation. It was as if every worry, every fear, every pain I had ever experienced was being left behind. I felt light, almost ethereal. Then, in what seemed like both an instant and an eternity, the tunnel came to an end. The light that was once soft now intensified, not blindingly but welcomingly. And it was there, bathed in this indescribable light, that I got my first glimpse of what was to come. When I emerged from the tunnel, I was enveloped in a light that defied earthly description. It wasn't just brilliant, it was alive, pulsating, almost tangible. I imagined I could touch it if I reached out, although I wasn't sure if it still had a physical form. The light emanated a comforting warmth like the embrace of a long-lost loved one. Colors I had never seen before danced within it, creating complex, beautiful patterns that seemed to contain all the knowledge in the universe. As my eyes, or was it my consciousness, adjusted to this new environment, I began to notice shapes within the light. They weren't exactly human figures, but distinct presences that I could feel rather than see. Each of these presences radiated a unique energy, but they all shared a common feeling: unconditional love. One of these presences approached me. There were no words being said, but I could understand perfectly. It was as if we could communicate directly from mind to mind or soul to soul. The presence gave me a feeling of welcome, of total acceptance. In that moment, I was flooded with a profound understanding. My entire life flashed before me, not like a quick movie, but like a lived experience. I could see every moment, every decision, every interaction I had. But the most surprising thing was that I could feel the impact that each of these actions had on the people around me. I saw the times I was kind, and how that kindness spread, affecting people I didn't even know. I also saw the times I was selfish or cruel, and how that negativity also spread. But there was no judgment in this review, just understanding and an opportunity to learn. The presence that welcomed me seemed to understand every nuance of what I was experiencing. I felt complete forgiveness for all the mistakes I had made, a love that transcended anything I had ever experienced on earth. It was as if, for the first time, I was truly being seen and accepted for who I really was, with all my flaws and virtues. In that realm of light and understanding, time seemed to not exist. It could have stayed there for seconds or for millennia, I couldn't say. All I knew was that I was experiencing a peace and joy that I never imagined possible. As I took in the magnitude of what I was experiencing, I felt a subtle shift in the environment around me. The light, which was already extraordinary, seemed to intensify even more. The presences that surrounded me seemed to retreat respectfully, and I felt a new presence approaching. This new presence was unlike anything I had ever experienced. It was as if all the light, all the love, all the wisdom I had encountered so far were just a pale reflection of this entity. Instinctively, I knew who it was: Christ. There was no defined physical form, but the presence was unmistakable. It was as if the entire concept of love, compassion, and forgiveness had been condensed into a single entity. The feeling of being in the presence of Christ was overwhelming, but at the same time, incredibly comforting. There were no words spoken, but the communication was clearer than any conversation I've ever had. The message was simple, but profound. You are doing well. Keep treating others as you would like to be treated. The simplicity of this message contrasted sharply with the complexity that we humans often impose on life and spirituality. In that moment, I had a crystal clear understanding of what really mattered in life. It wasn't material possessions, social status, or professional achievements. What truly counted were the connections we made, the love we shared, and the compassion we showed for each other. Christ showed me, without words, how even the most lost souls could find redemption if they accepted the unconditional love that was being offered. I saw glimpses of lives transformed by the power of forgiveness and compassion. The presence of Christ enveloped me in a hug that transcended the physical. I felt completely accepted, loved, and forgiven for everything I had ever done or not done. I understood that this love was available to everyone, without exception. As I was immersed in this transcendental experience, I felt like I was being prepared for something. I didn't know exactly what, but I had a feeling that an important decision was coming. The presence of Christ began to slowly drift away, but the love and understanding I received remained with me, filling every fiber of my being. As the presence of Christ receded, I felt enveloped again by the loving light I had initially encountered. The other presences approached, and I felt I was about to face a crucial moment. It was then that I realized I was being presented with a choice. On the one hand, there was the continuation of this indescribable peace, this state of total understanding and unconditional love. On the other, there was the return to my earthly life with all its complexities, challenges, and pain. The decision was not as simple as it might seem at first glance. The pull of eternal peace was strong. Here, in this realm of light, there was no suffering, there was no misunderstanding, There was no pain. It was tempting to remain, immersed in this perfect love and total understanding. On the other hand, I thought about my family. I saw Sarah, my wife, her face lined with worry as she waited for news of my surgery. I saw Jake, my son, with whom I had a complicated relationship, but who I loved deeply, and Emily, my teenage daughter, with her whole life ahead of her. I thought about my friends, my co-workers, all the people who were part of my life. The presences around me did not pressure me in any direction. I felt that whatever I chose, I would be respected and accepted. But I also felt that this decision was deeply important, not just for me, but for everyone I touched in my earthly life. I reflected on everything I had experienced and learned on this journey. Unconditional love, the importance of compassion, the power of forgiveness. I thought about how I could apply these lessons if I returned to my life. Maybe I could make a difference, however small, in the world. At the same time, I was aware that if I chose to return, I would face challenges. There would be pain, there would be conflicts, there would be moments of doubt and fear. Recovery from surgery would be difficult, and there were no guarantees as to how long I would have, but something inside me grew stronger. I felt like I still had a purpose to fulfill on Earth, that the lessons I learned here could be shared, that the love I experienced could be spread. With a mix of determination and gratitude, I made my choice. I decided to return. The moment I made this decision, I felt a wave of approval and love coming from the presences around me. I understood that one day, when my mission was complete, I would return to this peace. But for now, my place was among the living. The moment I made the decision to return, I felt an immediate change in the environment around me. The light began to gradually dim, not abruptly or frighteningly, but like a gentle sunset. The presences surrounding me seemed to move away, but not before enveloping me in a final wave of love and encouragement. I began to feel a tug, as if I was being called back into my body. The feeling was similar to what I experienced in the light tunnel, but in reverse. As I was pulled back, I caught quick glimpses of scenes from my life. Happy times with my family, challenges I faced, people I met along the way. It was as if he was being reminded of all the reasons he had chosen to return. As I got closer to my physical body, I began to feel sensations that I had forgotten about. The weight of my body, the texture of the hospital sheets against my skin, the rhythmic sound of the machines around me. Little by little, awareness of the physical world became stronger. The return process was not instantaneous. It felt like my consciousness was slowly readjusting to my physical body. I felt a dull pain in my head, reminding me of the surgery I had undergone. My throat was dry and irritated, probably from the breathing tube. Slowly, I began to open my eyes. The light in the hospital room, although soft, seemed intense after the ethereal experience I had had. I blinked several times, trying to focus my vision. The shapes around me began to become clear. The first person I saw was a nurse. His face was kind and his eyes showed a mixture of surprise and relief at seeing me awake. She approached my bed, checking the monitors and adjusting something on the IV. "Welcome back, Mr. Hayes," she said softly. "My name is Laura. You are in the ICU. The surgery was a success." I tried to speak, but my throat was too dry. Laura noticed my discomfort and offered me some ice cubes to suck on. The cold in my mouth was a strangely comforting sensation, grounding me even more in the physical world. As Laura explained that the removed tumor was benign, a meningioma, and that my mind was intact, I tried to process everything that had happened. The experience I had felt so real, so vivid, that it was hard to believe it was just a dream or a hallucination caused by the anesthesia. Little by little, I began to feel more present in my body. The feeling of peace and love I experienced during my journey was still with me, but now mixed with the physical sensations of my recovering body. It was a strange combination, but somehow comforting. The days following my awakening were a mix of physical challenges and deep reflections. Recovering from brain surgery is not easy, and I experienced intense headaches, nausea, and extreme fatigue. However, these difficulties seemed small compared to the internal transformation I was experiencing. My family was constantly by my side. Sarah, with her unwavering love, rarely left my room. Jake and Emily took turns bringing a youthful, hopeful energy to the hospital setting. I watched them with new eyes, seeing not just my family members, but precious souls with whom I had the privilege of sharing this earthly journey. As my physical strength returned, I began to share snippets of my experience with them. At first, I was cautious, fearing that they might think I was crazy or that the experience would be dismissed as a side effect of the anesthesia. But as I spoke, I realized that my words touched them deeply. Sarah, always practical and down to earth, listened to me with a mixture of fascination and concern. She held my hand as I described light, unconditional love, and encountering Christ. I could see in her eyes that, although she might not fully understand, she respected the depth of my experience. Jake, who had always been skeptical about spiritual matters, surprised me with his openness. He asked thoughtful questions, wanting to understand more about what I had experienced. I realized that my experience was opening a channel of communication between us that had long been blocked. Emily, with her adolescent curiosity, absorbed every word. She asked me profound questions about the afterlife, the purpose of existence, and the nature of divine love. Our conversations often stretched into the night, and I found myself rediscovering these truths as I shared them with her. The doctors and nurses caring for me noticed a change in my behavior. They commented on my positive attitude towards the challenges of recovery, on the peace that seemed to emanate from me even in the most difficult moments. I smiled, knowing that this change was coming from a place far beyond medical understanding. As the days passed, I began to notice something curious. The number 22 began to appear with unusual frequency. It was in digital clocks when I casually looked, in hospital room numbers, even in the number of flowers in a bouquet a friend brought. At first I thought it was just a coincidence, but soon the recurrence became impossible to ignore. One particularly peaceful night, while watching the stars through the hospital window, I had a vivid dream. A voice, which I couldn't identify but which felt familiar and comforting, told me that something significant would happen on July 22, 2024. I woke up with a sense of anticipation and purpose that I couldn't fully explain. I shared this revelation with my family the next morning. Sarah listened with a mixture of curiosity and concern. Jake seemed skeptical but interested, and Emily's eyes sparkled with excitement. I didn't know what to expect from this date, but I felt like I was connected in some way to the extraordinary journey I had experienced. As the days turned into weeks and I was finally released from the hospital, I realized that my near-death experience had fundamentally changed my perspective on life. The things that had once seemed so important, professional status, material possessions, little everyday irritations, now seemed insignificant compared to what I had experienced. My return home was a moment of joy, mixed with a strange sense of dislocation. The world around me seemed the same, but I had changed profoundly. I walked through the rooms of our house, touching familiar objects, looking at family photos, and everything seemed to have a new meaning. I began to notice beauty in places that had previously gone unnoticed, the way the sunlight filtered through the leaves of the trees, the sound of children's laughter playing in the street, the aroma of coffee in the morning. Every moment felt precious, a gift I now fully appreciated. My relationship with Sarah has deepened in ways I didn't expect. We share long, deep conversations about life, death, love, and purpose. She confessed that while I was in surgery, she had felt an inexplicable peace, as if she knew I was being taken care of. This shared experience, although from different perspectives, brought us even closer. With Jake, I noticed a significant change. Our years of disagreements and truncated communication seemed to melt away in the face of the new dynamic that was forming between us. He started reaching out to me to talk, not just about my experience, but about his own struggles and dreams. For the first time in years, I felt like we were truly connecting. Emily, always curious and open, became my partner in exploring the philosophical and spiritual implications of what I had experienced. We spent hours discussing the meaning of life, the role of love and compassion, and how we could apply these lessons to our everyday lives. At work, my colleagues noticed a change in me. I approached problems with a new perspective, looking for solutions that benefited everyone, not just the company. I began advocating for social and environmental causes, feeling a renewed responsibility to the world around me. My relationship with time has also changed. Every day felt like a precious opportunity, not to accumulate riches or achievements, but to spread love, to help others, to appreciate the beauty of the world. Death, which once terrified me, now seemed like just a transition, a passage to something greater. The number 22 continued to appear in my life, as a constant reminder of the revelation I had. I began keeping a journal, writing down not only the occurrences of this number, but also the small and large changes I was experiencing in my life and the lives of those around me. As the months passed, I felt a growing anticipation for July 22, 2024. I didn't know what to expect, but I had a deep sense that something significant was coming. This expectation, far from causing me anxiety, filled me with a calm hope and a serene confidence in the unfolding of life's events. Today is July 20th, 2024, and I'm sitting in my office looking out the window at the garden blooming outside. There are only 2 days left until July 22nd, the date revealed to me in a dream months ago. The anticipation grows with each passing hour, but it is not a gut-wrenching anxiety. It's more like a calm expectation, a quiet confidence that something significant is about to happen. In these months since my near-death experience, I have learned to value every moment, every breath. The number 22 keeps appearing in my daily life, as a constant reminder of the journey I am about to complete. I don't know exactly what to expect on the 22nd, but I feel like it will be a time of transformation, not just for me, but perhaps for everyone around me. My family shares this expectation with me. Sarah, with her unwavering love, is by my side every step of the way. Jake and Emily, each in their own way, demonstrate a curiosity and openness that makes me proud. Together, we are preparing for whatever the 22nd may bring. As I reflect on everything that has happened since that fateful day in December, when I walked into the operating room not knowing if I would make it out alive, I feel a deep sense of gratitude. Gratitude for the second chance I received, for the love I experienced beyond the limits of life and death, and for the opportunity to share this experience with you. For those listening to my story, I want to leave a message. Life is more precious and more mysterious than we can imagine. Every day is a gift, an opportunity to spread love, to make a difference in someone's life. Don't wait for an extraordinary event to start living fully. The extraordinary is in every moment, in every breath, in every act of kindness. I learned that love is the most powerful force in the universe. It transcends life and death, connects us to each other and to the divine. Cultivate this love in your life. Forgive, understand, be compassionate. Treat others as you would like to be treated. This simple truth, revealed to me on my journey, has the power to transform not only our individual lives, but the entire world. Don't be afraid of death, but don't waste your life either. Live each day as if it were your last, but plan as if you have eternity ahead of you. Find your purpose, the thing that makes your heart sing, and pursue it with passion. And remember, you are not alone on this journey. We are all connected, part of something bigger than ourselves. Every act of kindness, every positive thought, every gesture of love resonates through the universe in ways we cannot fully understand. As I prepare for July 22nd, I do so with an open heart and full of hope. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I will face it with love, courage, and gratitude, and I invite you to do the same in your own life. Thank you for listening to my story. May she bring hope, comfort, and inspiration to your journey. Always remember, love is eternal, life is precious, and there is more to existence than our eyes can see or our minds comprehend. Live each day with this awareness and you will discover the true magic of life. And most of all, gratitude for understanding that true wealth is not in what we accumulate for ourselves, but in what we can give to others. This was the final lesson of my near-death experience, a lesson I was determined to live every day for the rest of my life.